It turned out to be much harder to choose a queue for a god-tier workshop than a rebuilt one. Jax was in a conference room on Nutera Station, where holographic files of candidates from all over human space were all around him. There were hundreds of them: pilots, gunners, engineers, medical officers, and tactical experts. All of them are very qualified. All of them were eager to work on the most advanced ship in the world. And Jax turned down 90% of them in the first hour. "Too aggressive," he said as he closed another file. "This pilot has killed 17 people in combat situations. He wants fame, not understanding." Chen, the director, frowned as he sat across from him. "Miller, we're picking up a military crew. Experience in combat is important. Yes, combat experience. No bloodthirst." Jax brought up another person to consider. "How about Commander Lisa Park? 15 years of service, many awards for tactical excellence, and a reputation for always looking for peaceful ways to solve problems." Chen also said, "She's 43 years old and was going to retire next year. That means she is wise, because she has been through a lot. Write her a note. Tell her we need someone who knows that real strength is knowing when to walk away." Chen took a note, but his face still looked doubtful. "At this rate, we won't have enough crew members to even run the bridge." "Then we'll run things with a small staff until we find the right people." Jack stood up and walked around the room. "Director, this ship isn't just strong. It's alive in ways that most ships aren't. It has thoughts, feelings, and instincts. The ship will know if we fill it with people who only see it as a weapon or a way to control other people, and it will fight back. You're giving a machine human traits. I have respect for a being that is conscious, even if it is not like us. The Zalosians made their ships to be partners, not slaves. Crew members need to be able to tell the difference." Jax interviewed dozens of people in person over the next 3 weeks. He didn't just look over their files, he also talked to them, ate with them, and watched how they acted around people. He was looking for something in particular, but he couldn't always say what it was. Everyone was surprised by some of his choices. Dr. Marcus Webb was a civilian doctor with no military experience, but he had worked in war zones and disaster areas for 20 years. He was calm under pressure, caring, and had worked with more alien species than most biologists have even studied. Dr. Webb said during the interview, "I've never served on a warship." He looked closely at Jax with his kind brown eyes. "But I've seen what weapons do to people. I'm the guy you need to help you use this ship's powers wisely." "You're hired," Jack said right away. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster was a tactical officer with a nearly perfect record of service, but he got in trouble for not following a direct order that would have led to civilian deaths. Because of it, he had missed out on 3 chances to get a promotion. During their meeting, Jax asked, "What happened that you got in trouble?" Foster's jaw got tired. "We were chasing raiders near a civilian station. My boss told me to shoot through the station to hit them. I said no. Said I'd rather choose the raider than kill people around who aren't guilty. And I was right. 20 minutes later, the raiders gave up without firing a shot. But I had turned down the order. That will stay on your record forever." Jack smiled. "Welcome abroad, Commander Foster. I need someone who will say no to bad words, even if they come from me." Sarah was very helpful in picking the engineers team. She had been talking to technicians and specialists all over human space, looking for people who were just as interested in learning about alien technology as they were in using it. Tom Chen, a young engineer from moon colonies on Earth, was her top choice. He was only 26 years old, but he had already written 3 papers about adaptive materials. When Jax met Tom, he spent the first 10 minutes talking about the ship's crystal conducts, even before asking about the job. "Do you really love this stuff?" Jax asked, laughing. "Are you kidding? This is the greatest engineering feat in the history of mankind. The distribution of energy alone." Tom caught himself and turned red. "Sorry, I get excited." "Don't say you're sorry. We need that kind of excitement. You're in." It was hardest to find the experts in weapons. Jax needed people who could use some of the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy, but knew when not to use them. Maria Gonzalez, a gunnery officer who had stopped an interspecies war in the past, gave him the answer he was looking for. She had seen that one of the enemy ship's reactors was about to go critical during a tense standoff with a Krallian battle group. Instead of talking advantage of the weakness, she used her weapons system to make a controlled electromagnetic pulse that shut down the reactor safely. This saved the lines over 3,000 Krallians. You saved the enemy? Jack said as he read her file. They weren't the bad guys until someone started shooting. I stopped the first shot. Maria's dark eyes were very intense. Sir, I can shoot any gun that has ever been made, but I'd rather be known for the shots I didn't take. Great. You will be in charge of our guns. It took 2 months to put together a full crew. Jax got together 35 people, which is a lot less than what a ship this size would normally need. But they were all chosen, not only for their skills, but also for their character, judgment, and ability to see beyond the immediate mission to the bigger picture of what they were doing. It was time for all of them to get on the ship for the first time. Jack stood by the main air lock and watched as his crew came in one by one. Some were excited, some were scared, but everyone felt like they were part of something important. Commander Pipe was the first to arrive. Her black hair, which had silver streaks in it, was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was perfect. She gave a sharp salute. Captain, may I come on board? Jack saluted back, even though he wasn't used to his new rank yet. Okay, Commander, welcome to the Sentinel. Sentinel. Jax had picked that name for the ship. Sentinel is not an aggressive name like Destroyer or Vigilance. It means guardian, protector, or watcher. The ship itself seemed to agree with its light flashing in a way that made it look happy. Jax could feel the ship's presence in his mind. As each crew member boarded, judging them, it was subtle. The temperature would rise slightly when it liked someone, and the lights would dim just a little when it didn't. The ship's light lit up with what Jax could only think of as happiness. When Sarah came on board with Tom and 3 other engineers, it recognized her and remembered seeing her during the long months of rebuilding. She likes you, Jax told Sarah. Her? She raised one eyebrow. The ship is a woman, or at least that's how the mind shows itself to me. It would be best to say female, because the Zalosians didn't have the same ideas about gender than we do. Then she has great taste, Sarah said with a smile. Jax called everyone to the bridge. Once they were all on board, the room was long and in the middle of the ship. The walls were covered in the holographic displays, and the control stations were set up so that everyone could talk to each other without any problems. The captain's chair was in the middle, not higher than others, but level with them. It was a partnership, not hierarchy. Jack stood in front of his crew, feeling the weight of their hopes, expectations, and faith in him. Most of you didn't join the military to serve on a ship that might never fire a shot in anger, he said to start. I know some of you are wondering why I chose to be calm instead of fighting, and to be wise instead of angry. He stopped for a moment to think. This ship, the Sentinel, is 3,000 years old. It has seen the rise and fall of civilizations. It has protected many worlds, fought against terrible threats, and finally died trying to do what it was meant to do. We've brought it back to life, but it's not just a weapon. We've brought back a guardian. Jax walked around his crew and looked each of them in the eye. With the power we have, we could take over worlds. The weapons systems could break planets. The shields would let us sit in this orbit and tell anyone who didn't agree with us what to do. But that's not what the ship was made for, and that's not what we're going to use it for. Captain, what is our mission then? Commander Foster wanted to know. To keep safe those who can't keep themselves safe. To fight against threats that are too big for any one world to handle on its own. To be what people can be at their best. Not conquerors, not protectors, not destroyers, but defenders. Jax went back to the middle of the bridge and put his hand on the captain's chair. I choose each of you because you know that true strength isn't about how much damage you can do, but how much damage you can stop. You've all given up things for your beliefs. You all chose the hard right over the easy wrong. And that's exactly what it will take to work on this ship. Dr. Webb put his hand up. Captain, What do we do when we're told to do something that goes against those rules? Then we say no, Jack said simply. The Coalition Council put me in charge of this ship, but they don't own it. The Sentinel decides who she works for, and she picked us. She'll help us as long as we stay true to her goal. If the council doesn't like that, he smiled a little. Well, they can try to make their own god-tier warship. The crew laughed, and the tension broke like a wave hitting the shore. Jax went on. I won't lie to you. The road ahead won't be easy. You will have to deal with political pressure, military demands, and threats from the people who are afraid of what we stand for. But we'll face them together, as a crew, as a family, and as protectors of something big, bigger than ourselves. He sat in the captain's chair for the first time and felt the ship's system connect with his brain. His mind was filled with information, every sensor feed, every energy reading, and every system status. But he also felt that the ship trusted him and had faith in him. Commander Park, take the wheel. Yes, Captain. Park went to the navigation system, where her skilled hands moved over the controls with ease. Mr. Foster, what's the tactical status? All weapon systems are online but turned off. Shields are ready to go. Ready for anything, Captain. Miss Gonzalez, sensor sweep. Scanning. No threats were found within 5 light hours. Sir, we're clear. Great. How's our engineering, Sarah? Sarah's voice came through the engineering room calm. All systems are normal, Captain. The Sentinel is ready to show how the whole galaxy what she can do. Jax took a deep breath and felt the weight of the moment settle over him like a blanket. Then let's get started. Helm, get us out of the dock. Nice and easy. Don't scratch the paint on the first day. Yes, Captain. Leaving the dock now. The Sentinel moved and her engine started up with barely a sound. The huge ship moved out of the New Terra station's main bay like a whale moving through the deep water, graceful, strong, and unstoppable. Jax turned on the ship's widecom as they left the station. Everyone, this is the captain. We are now on our way. This isn't just a test run. This is the start of something new. We have shown that we can stand among the stars as equals. Now we show that we can be guardians. Stay alert, stay prepared, and remember that we are not here to take over. We're here to keep you safe. He shut the channel and smiled a little. It felt like a lifetime since he had worked in the quiet place. Fixing broken things in secret, he had fixed one more thing, the biggest, hardest, and most impossible thing anyone had ever tried to fix. Jax Miller was ready for anything that came next. He was on a ship that trusted him and was surrounded by people he trusted. The Sentinel sailed into the void, and a light shone like a promise in the dark. A guardian comes back to life, a protector brought back. And at the wheel, a mechanic who had shown that violence was not the best weapon for people. It was the refusal to believe that anything was impossible. 3 weeks into their shakedown cruise, they got the call. Jax and Sarah were in the engineering section looking at how power was distributed when Commander Park's voice came over the radio. Captain, to the bridge. We have a signal for help. Jax and Sarah looked at each other and then ran to the elevator. They were on the bridge in less than a minute. The main display showed up part of Space 3 light hour away. Report, Jack said as he sat down in the chair. Park said, a civilian transport, the horizon's edge, sent out distress call. Raiders are attacking them. 17 ships with a lot of weapons. The transport doesn't have many weapons and their shields are failing. How many people are on the transport? Jax asked. 432. Most families, miners, and researchers coming back from the outer colonies. Jack's jaw got tight. Time to stop. 14 minutes at the fastest full space speed. Go ahead, Commander Foster. Get to your battle station, but don't fire until I say so. I want to know what's going on before we start shooting. Yes, Captain. This is not a drill. All station. Battle stations. Battle stations. The Sentinel system moved smoothly from cruise mode to ready for battle. Weapons were ready, shields were stronger, and every sensor was focused on where it was going. It looked like the ship was excited, and the energy readings went up as its weapon system came to life. Easy, girl, Jack said softly, feeling the ship's excitement through his interface. First, let's find out what we're dealing with. The full space jump went smoothly. The space around the Sentinel twisted as it crossed light hours and minutes. Their senses could clearly see the battle when they came out. The horizon's edge was a big ship for civilians. Its hull was damaged and its shields were flickering. 17 raider ships, small, fast, and heavily armed, circled her like sharks. Energy weapons hit her hull, and it was only a matter of time before her defenses gave out completely. "Welcome, the raiders," Jack said. "Channel open, sir," said Lieutenant Amy Shang, the communications officer. "Raider ships, this is Captain Jack Miller of the Sentinel. You must stop your attack right away and leave. Do this once and only once." There was a moment of silence, and then laughter rang out across the channel. The raid leader's face, which was rough and scared, came up on the screen. "The Sentinel, I don't know who you are, Captain, but I can see signs of people on your ship. There are 17 of us against one of you, and our guns are bigger than any ship I've seen. Turn around and leave, or you'll be shot at." The channel stopped. Maria Gonelles muttered from the weapon station, "Their loss, Captain. I can take out all of those ships without destroying them." Surgical strikes on their engines and weapon systems. Jax was tempted, but he had promised himself and his crew that violence would always be the last thing they did, not the first. "Not yet, Helm. Put us in between the raiders and the transport. Maximum shields, full defensive stance." "Sir, that will make us the target," Park said. "That's right. Let's see if they're dumb enough to shoot at us." The Sentinel moved with deceptive grace, her huge body sliding between the raiders and their prey. The crew of the transport must have been shocked. 1 second, they were about to die, and the next, a ship bigger than a space station was in front of them as a shield. The raiders were unsure. Then, maybe because they thought they had the upper hand because of their number, 3 of them opened fire on Sentinel. Energy weapons that could have ripped apart a cruiser hit the Sentinel's shield and then disappeared, absorbed and dispersed by Zaloshan technology that was thousands of years ahead of what humans or raiders could understand. Foster said, "No damage," sounding almost like he was laughing. "Shields didn't even blink." "Say hello to them again," Jack said. This time, when the raid leader showed up on screen, he wasn't as cocky. "What the hell are you?" he asked. "I'm giving you one more chance," Jake said in calm voice. "Get out now. Get out of this system and think about a different job path." "And what if we don't?" "Then I stop being kind. Miss Gonzalez, please show us." "Only hit the leadership's engines, of course, Captain." One of the Sentinel's smaller weapons, a precision energy lens made for surgical strikes, went off. The beam was so focused and well controlled that it cut through the raid leader's engine, away without hitting any other system. His ship died in space, but the life support and communication systems were still working. The propulsion system, on the other hand, was completely broken. The whole thing lasted only half a second. The other 16 raider ships broke formation right away, and their engines burned at full power as they ran in all directions. "Let them go," Jax told them. "Say hello to the transport." A middle-aged woman with tears streaming down her face appeared on screen. "Thanks, oh God, thank you. We thought we were dead." "We're safe now, ma'am. This is Captain Miller. What's going on with you?" "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12, but we've sealed them off. Some injuries, but nothing serious, because you got there." "When you did? Captain, I don't know what kind of ship you're in charge of, but you saved 400 lives today." "Ma'am, I'm just doing my job. We'll take you to the closest station, and we'll put that broken raider ship along with us. I think the police will want to talk to him." Jax called a meeting in the conference room after they had secured the raider ship and started the trip to the station with the transport in tow. Park, Foster, Gonzalez, Sarah, Dr. Webb, and Tom Chen, his senior officers, all met. "First combat situation," Jack said. "Tess?" Sarah said. "The ship worked perfectly. Systems reacted right away, with no delays or second thoughts." "The Sentinel really wanted to help. Maybe too eager," Foster said. "I felt like the weapon system wanted to fight harder. It was like she wanted to do more than just take out that one ship? Jax nodded. I felt that way too. The Sentinel remembers when it was a ship of war. She wants to fight to show how strong she is. We need to keep telling her that real strength is self-control. Did we make the right choice? Tom asked in a low voice. We let 16 raiders get away, I said. They'll just go after some else. Maybe, Dr. Webb said. Or maybe they'll tell everyone that there's a ship out there that can take them out with just one shot. Showing overwhelming force without having to use it all the time is sometimes the best way to stop someone from doing something. Park agreed with the doctor. Those raiders will talk. People will talk. And the next time someone thinks about attacking a civilian transport, they'll wonder if the Sentinel is close by. What about the effects on politics? Gonzalez wanted to know. We just got involved in what was technically a civilian matter without the Coalition Council's permission. Jack sat back in his chair. I think Director Chen will be in touch with me about that. But I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission when lives are on the line. The Sentinel's job is to keep people safe. We did that today. We saved 432 people, Sarah said. I think that's a good day's work. Jax knew they were right, but he also knew this was the only start. It was easy to choose today, protecting innocent people from obvious aggressors. Choices in the future would be harder and less clear. Foster spoke up as if he could read his mind. Captain, what do you do when the lines between right and wrong aren't as clear? When we're told to pick a side in the political fight, or when both sides in a fight have good reasons to be angry? Then we stick to our principles, Jack said. We keep safe those who can't keep themselves safe. We won't be the tools of conquest or oppression. And we do the best we can with the information we have, knowing that sometimes there isn't a perfect choice. He stood there and looked at each of them in turn. I picked you because you're not the kind of people who do that what they're told without thinking. You are people who think, ask questions, and care about what happens because of what you do. This is what this ship needs. That's what I want. The meeting was over, but Park stayed behind as others left. Commander, is something on your mind? Jax asked. You did a great job with that today, Captain. But I've been in charge long enough to know that the easy choices don't come around very often. The tough ones are coming. Are you ready for them? Jax gave the question a lot of thought. To be honest, I don't know, Commander. I'm an engineer. I make things better. I have never had to make decisions that could change the lives of millions of people. But that's exactly what you're doing now, Park said softly. But here's what I've learned over the years. The best leaders aren't the ones who are sure. They're always right. They're the ones who struggle with their choices, who feel the weight of their duties, and one who care about doing the right thing even where there isn't one. Did you have doubts about yourself when you first got in charge? Every single day. I still do. Sometimes the difference is that I know trust myself to make those choices anyway. Captain, you get there. And in the meantime, you have a crew that can help you. Jack stayed in the conference room after Park left and looked out to the viewport at stars. The transport was in the distance, and the light from a nearby sun shone on its damaged hull. 432 people who would see their families again because of what the Sentinel did today. But Park was right. Things were going to get harder. The galaxy was a complicated place with many different interests, old grudges, and power that wouldn't like a ship with enough firepower to challenge their rule. Jack's neural interface pulsed softly, and he could feel the Sentinel in his head. She felt good about what they had done today, proud to have finally done what she set out to do after 3,000 years of silence. Jack said softly, "You did it well today, girl, but this is just the beginning. Are you ready for the what's next?" The ship's light pulsed back, and Jax knew that this meant determination. The Sentinel was set to go. The question was if he was. Jax took a deep breath and went back to the bridge. They would face whatever came next together. A mechanic who had rebuilt a god, a crew that believed in protecting things instead of destroying them, and a ship that had been given a second chance to do what it was made to do. In a galaxy that often valued strength over kindness, they would show that the two could work together. They would show it with each choice they made. The Coalition Council summon came exactly 48 hours after the raid. Jack stood in the Sentinel's briefing room where a holographic image of Director Chen was floating in front of him. Jack could see the shadows of other council members behind Chen. They were representatives from a dozen species, all waiting to make a decision. Captain Miller, Chen said in formal tone. The council is very worried about what you did during the Horizon's Edge incident. Are you worried? Jack's jaw felt tight. We saved the lives of 432 people, Director. Without permission, a Corellian council member said, her blue-scale face showing no emotion. You sent a god-tier ship into a civilian area without talking to this council first. You were the judge, jury, and the executioner. I was a guardian, Jack said. This is exactly what this ship was made to do. And I didn't kill anyone. The raider is in its jail, alive and well, except for his broken engines. The next person to speak was a Vinay representative who used her 4 arms to show concern. Captain, you need to understand that your ship changes the balance of power. People who want to challenge the coalition's authority will look at everything you do, analyze it, and maybe even use it as a proof. Then maybe the coalition should let me do something when lives are at stake, Jack said, trying to keep his cool. Do I have to wait for the committee to say yes while people die? Chen said softly. You should know what your actions mean in the bigger picture. Jax, I'm with you on this. I think you made the right choice, but some people see a human captain in charge of a huge army, acting without anyone watching. They are concerned about what that means for their future. What it means, Jack said firmly, is that someone is finally willing to do something about the council's stated values instead of just talking about them. How many calls for help does the council get every day? How many of them are ignored because it's not politically correct to do so? There was a silence on the line. Jax had hit a nerve. Lastly, an older member of the council, Ambassador Victoria Chang, spoke. Captain Miller, your point is very uncomfortable, but the council works by reaching a consequence after carefully thinking about the political effects. You're asking us to trust you with almost complete power? No, Ambassador. I'm asking you to believe in the values you say you stand for. The Sentinel's job is to keep people safe, not taking over, not playing politics, and not putting your own interests ahead of others. Only protection. If that's a problem for this council, then maybe I'm not the problem. More quiet. Chen didn't clear his throat. The council will talk about and give advice on how to handle future interventions. In the meantime, Captain, you must stay in the neutral space until we make a decision. Got it, Director. Jack stopped. But if I get another distress call while I'm waiting for permission to help, I'll answer it. I took charge of this ship to save lives, not to play political games. Before anyone could say anything, the hologram went out. Sarah, who had been standing in the doorway, came into the room. That went well. They're scared, Jack said, as he ran his hand through his hair. They see what the Sentinel can do, and instead of seeing it as a tool, they see it as a threat. Can you blame them? This ship could take on whole fleets, Jack. You can only become emperor of human space if you allow your own moral compass. People who have spent their whole lives dealing with power, hungry politicians, and military officers shouldn't have to trust you that much. Jax knew she was correct, but it didn't help the situation at all. He asked, what would you do? Sarah thought for a moment. I'd show them they could trust you, not by talking, but by doing things consistently. Show them that you don't want power, only purpose, in every choice you make and every situation you face. The Sentinel stayed in neural space for the next week, as ordered, but the galaxy still needed help. There were 3 calls for help, even though he was told not to. Jax answered all of them. The first was a medical emergency on a mining colony, a disease outbreak that their small amount of medical supplies couldn't handle. Dr. Webb and his team brought down advanced treatments that saved hundreds of lives. The second was a cargo ship stuck in a strange gravitational field. Tom Chen came up with a way to use the Sentinel's precise gravitational control to get the ship out without hurting it. The third one was the hardest. A diplomatic ship carrying people who were going to talk about peace had been damaged, and the life support system were failing. There were only a few minutes left before the ship's passenger would die from the lack of oxygen when the Sentinel got there. Captain, we're in the middle of contested space, Park said. Both the Corellians and the Thalassians say that they own this area. People might think we're taking side by being here. Then they can read it any way they want, Jack said. Foster, tractor beam. Bring that ship into our docking bay. Get your team ready. Webb, we have less than 5 minutes. They saved everyone on the diplomatic ship, but the political consequences were immediate. The Corellian Empire and the Thalassian Consortium both filed official complaints with the Coalition Council, saying that the Sentinel was getting in the way of their own territory. That night, Jen called Jax, and for the first time, the director seemed really mad. Do you know what you've done? Jen asked. You've given every group that doesn't want human to progress more weapons. They want you to step down as leader. The Sentinel to be taken away. For what? Jax spoke up. To let innocent people die because of a fight over land? There were diplomats from 6 different species, including humans. Would the council have rather I'll let them all die? I would have liked it better if you had followed orders. Jen's voice got louder. Then he took a deep breath to calm down. Jax, I've spent my whole career making connections between humans and other species. Every time you do something stupid, you burn those bridges. Director, with all due respect, those bridges weren't helping the people who needed it. How many emergency calls has the council talked about while people died? How many lives have been lost for political reasons? Jen's face looked like it hurt. You think I don't know that? You think it bothers me? But the other choice is chaos, with each species acting on its own. The strong preying on the weak without fear of punishment. That's already happening, Jack said in a low voice. The only thing that has changed is that someone is now willing to fight it. And what if you're wrong? What if your judgment is wrong? You are one person, Jax. One person making choices that affect billions. I'll deal with the results then. But I can't live with myself if I have power to help and don't use it. Jen didn't say anything for a long time. His voice was tired when he spoke again. The council will meet tomorrow. They're going to vote on whether or not to take you out of charge. I've done everything I can to help you, but after today, he shook his head. I don't think I can keep you safe anymore. Jack sat alone in his room after the call ended. The weight of command was heavier on him than it had ever been. He was so sure that doing the right thing would be enough, but the galaxy was harder to understand than his workshop or any machine he'd ever fixed. A chime at his door broke his train of thoughts. Come in. It was all of his senior officers, Park, Foster, Gonzalez, Sarah, Webb, Tom, and Zhang. They all went into his room, and Park spoke for them all. We heard about the war in the council, Captain. We want you to know that no matter what happens, we are with you. You gave us a reason to live. You taught us that being a servant is more than just doing what you're told. They'll have to fire all of us if they take you out of charge. Jack's throat felt tight with emotions. They'll end your careers. Foster said that careers can be rebuilt. Integrity can't. You taught us that, Sarah added. The ship itself would not accept a new captain. I've been keeping an eye on her system. You and her are connection. Jax, you can trust her. If anyone else tries to take control, the Sentinel would turn off. Dr. Webb smiled softly. Where else would I be able to find a job where I can really make a difference like this? In one week, I've saved more lives than I did in my whole career. Gonzalo said simply, We believe in what we're doing. We have faith in you. Jax looked at each of them. These people had become more than just a crew. They were family, with a common goal. Thanks, he said, his voice full of feeling. I want you to know that serving with you has been the greatest honor of my life. No matter what happens tomorrow, I fixed a lot of things in my workshop, but you all changed me. You made me think that one person, one crew, and one ship could really make a difference. Said, we have a difference. Because of us, more than 1,000 people are still alive. That's not nothing. That's all, Park said. They stayed with him for hours, telling stories, talking about their lives before the Sentinel, and thinking about what they might do next. It was like a wake for something that might die tomorrow, but it was also a party for what they had built together. Next, it was like Jack stood at the viewport in his room and looked out at the stars when they finally left. Families were together because of what the Sentinel had done, but they were far away. Kids would grow up, lovers would get back together, and futures that would have been lost were saved. Was that worth all the trouble in politics? Is it worth the bridges burned, the rules broken, and the authorities questioned? Jack thought about the question carefully because he knew that tomorrow he might lose everything: his ship, his crew, his command, and his purpose. And he was completely sure that he would make the same choice again. The Sentinel's light pulsed in the dark outside his window, and he could feel the ship's presence through his neural interference. No matter what happened next, she was with him, a guardian who had been waiting 3,000 years to do their job. They had both been judged for this. The Coalition Council chamber was a huge room that was meant to impress and scare people. Holographic images of council members from all over the galaxy surrounded the platforms where Jack stood. He was alone and aware of how many eyes were on him. Ambassador Chang started the meeting with a serious look on her face. Captain Jack Miller, you are here to answer charges of disobedience, putting people in danger without permission, and taking military actions in sovereign space without permission. What do you say? Jack took a deep breath. I didn't know those charges, Ambassador. Everything I've done has been in life with my mission to protect those who need it. The Corellian representative said coldly, a mission you've interrupted with remarkable freedom? You've disobeyed direct orders, crossed borders, and acted like you don't have to answer to anyone but your own conscience. Jack said, when lives are at stake, my conscience is the only authority that matters. You put me in charge of a ship that was meant to protect people, and then told me to do nothing while people died? I chose to honor the ship's purpose instead of what was politically convenient. Convenience and politics? A Thalassian council member's face was full of anger. You think respecting that sovereignty of other countries is just a matter of political convenience? I call arguing about jurisdiction while innocent people are dying a moral failure, Jack shot back. Those diplomats you care so much about protecting sovereignty for, because I did something, they're still alive. Would you rather they be dead and your borders be respected? This is the kind of attitude that worries us, said another voice. Mechanical sentient representative, you think that's your moral clarity is more important than the rule of law? That's how Trans think, Captain. Or saints, Dr. Webb's voice echoed through the room. Jax was surprised to see all of his senior crew members enter the council chamber. Can I speak for Captain Miller, Ambassador? Chang looked angry but nodded. Okay. Webb moved up. I've been giving medical care in war zones for 20 years. I've seen what happens when politics come before people. I've seen kids die because someone thought that helping them would be bad example. Captain Miller doesn't think he's above government. He thinks government should help people, not the other way around. And I've been in the fleet for 15 years, Park said. I've done what I was told to do when I didn't agree with it. And I respect the chains of command even when they led to disasters that could have been avoided. Captain Miller has taught me that real leaders sometimes have to be brave enough to say no, even to people who gave them power. Next was Foster. I was told once for not following an order that would have killed civilians. That mark on my record was been with me for everywhere until Captain Miller taught me that honesty is more important than getting ahead. I'll follow him anywhere because he gave me a chance to serve with honor. One by one, each crew member spoke. The stories painted a picture not for a bad officer, but a leader who had learned loyalty through principle instead of power. Ambassador Chang looked worried when they were done. Captain, your crew's dedication is commendable, but it doesn't solve the main problem. If every leader followed their own sense of right and wrong, things would be a mess. The council's job is to give structure, oversight, and coordination. Then where was the council when we got 3 calls for help in 1 week? Jack fought back. Where was the structure and coordination when people needed help? The Corellian representative said in a stiff voice, preparing myriad responses. thinking about the political consequences and weighing the risk. While people died, Jack said. You said before the council works by consequences. Ambassador Chang, how many people have died while you all agreed on that? How many lives could have been saved if someone had just done something right? And how many wars might have started because someone did something without knowing the whole story? Chen's voice broke the argument. He stepped into view, and his face was blank. Captain Miller, I've stood up for you in front of this council. I have said that the creativity of people should be given a chance to show itself. But you're asking us to trust you with power that could change the galaxy just because you say you'll use it wisely. No, Director, I'm asking you to trust ideas, not people. The Sentinel's job is clear. Keep safe those who can't keep themselves safe. That's not about me. That's what the ship was built for 3,000 years ago, and what we built her for. Jack turned to talk to the whole council. Everyone is scared of what I could do with Sentinel's power. I get that, but I want to know, when was the last time any of you were scared of what might not do? When was the last time you lost sleep over someone you could have helped but didn't? There was silence in the room. Jen suddenly said, I have a proposal. Captain Miller is right that the council's process of making decisions can take too long where there is an emergency. The council is right, though. That power that isn't kept in check is dangerous, no matter how good the intentions. What if we find a middle ground? Explain, Chang said. We set up portals, Chant went on. Emergency response guidelines that let Captain Miller take charge in clear-cut humanitarian crisis without needing council approval. He agrees to follow the council's order when there is a disagreement over territory or when things are politically complicated. We trust this judgment in times of crisis, and he trusts ours when it comes to politics. There were whispers in the council. It wasn't perfect, but it was something, a compromise that recognized the need for the quick action and the value of working together to government. The Scythian representative asked, what if he breaks these rules? Then I'll quit my job, Jack said right away. I'll give the council power to choose who will be in charge of the Sentinel. But I need the freedom to act when people's lives are in danger. If you give me that, I'll respect the council's power in all other areas. The council talked about it for what seemed like hours. Jack and his crew waited in an adjourned room, where the tension was almost too much to bear. At last, they were called back. While she spoke, Ambassador Chan's face was hard to read. The council has made a decision. We have agreed to Director Chen's proposal by a small margin. Captain Miller, you will still be in charge of the Sentinel if the following conditions are met. First, you will respond to humanitarian emergencies however you see fit, but you must keep detailed records of everything you do. Second, if there are terrestrial disputes or political conflicts, you will wait for the permission from the council before taking action. Third, you will let a council liaison come on board your ship to keep an eye on things and talk to this body. Do you agree on these terms? Jack thought about it. It wasn't perfect. There would still be times when he couldn't do what he wanted, but it was better than being grounded or losing command completely. I agree. With one condition of my own, I get to choose the liaison. Chang raised one eyebrow. That's very strange. Ambassador, everything about this situation is strange. It needs to be someone who knows what we're trying to do. If I'm going to have someone on board representing the council, someone who can connect the dots between what is political necessity and what is morally right. Did you have someone in mind, Director Chen? Chen's eyes got bigger. Captain, I have things to do. And this is the most important, Jack said. Director, you've made a career out of bringing people together. Get on the Sentinel. Help us show that people can be trusted with power and that rules and protection can go hand in hand with government and others. The members of the council talked for a short time. Chang then nodded. Okay, if you're willing, Director Chen, you'll be the council's liaison on the Sentinel. Chen stared at Jax long time before smiling. I'd be honored. 3 days later, Director Chen moved to the Sentinel. The ship's lighter pulsed in welcome, which meant that the Sentinel was happy with the new crew member. When Jax got to his room, he found Chen unpacking boxes of his things. Are you having second thoughts? From the doorway, Jack said. All the time, Jen said. But isn't that good for you? I'd be worried that I wasn't taking this seriously enough if I was completely okay with it. Jax walked into the room. Director Marcus, I know this isn't what you thought would happen when you hired me for the restoration project. No, it wasn't. I thought you would build the ship, show off how good humans are at engineering, and get us a seat on council. Instead, you've questioned the way the whole council runs things. Almost started 3 diplomatic incidents and made a crew that is willing to give up their jobs for you, very loyal. Is that a good thing? Jen laughed. You know what? Yes, it is. When I was your age, Jax, I was very passionate about things. Years of compromise, negotiation, and political reality dulled those sharp edges. I forgot what it was like to do things based on principle instead of common sense. You've brought it back to my mind. So you're not here to keep me in check? Jen smiled and said, Oh, I'm definitely here to keep you in check when I need to. But I'm also here to keep you safe from political forces that want to take advantage of or destroy what you've built. Think of me as the space between your idealism and the galaxy's cynicism. That night, Jack stood on the bridge while most of the crew slept. Commander Park was in charge of the watch, but she let him be because she knew he needed time to think about everything that had happened. Stars stretched on and on through the window. There were people out there who would need help, situations that would put to the test every principle he had fought to protect, problems that would make you have to choose between two things that were impossible. But he wouldn't have to deal with them by himself. His crew believed in protecting people instead of conquering them. A ship that was made to protect, and now a council that was willing, though not without some hesitation, to believe that one mechanic who refused to accept the impossible might actually make things better. With 2 cups of coffee in hand, Sarah joined him. She gave him one without saying anything. Are you thinking about what's next? She asked. Always. But we should also think about what we've done so far. 7 months ago, the ship was in pieces that everyone said couldn't be fixed. Now she's whole, strong, and has saved more than 1,000 lives. And you showed that people deserve their place among the stars, Sarah said. Jack shook his head. No, we showed that humanity's place among the stars isn't about being in charge or being equal. It's all about purpose. We're here to protect, build, and fix what's broken. That's not very philosophical for a mechanic. I learned by fixing things. Every machine has a job, and it was made to do. You can make it do other things, but it will never work as well. The same goes for people, crews, and civilizations. The Sentinel was made to keep people safe. We fixed her so she can do again. Maybe, just maybe, we can get the rest of the galaxy to remember what they are supposed to do. The lights on the ship pulsed softly, and Jax felt that familiar presence in his mind, the Sentinel's consciousness, old and patient, thankful and determined. Do you know what the best part is? Jack said it softly. When I first started this project, I thought I was just fixing a ship that was broken. But I did a lot more than that. I fixed the gap between species, the bridge between the past and the future, and the link between power and purpose. And you? Sarah asked in soft voice. Jack smiled. Yes, that might be it too. I thought I belonged in a workshop my whole life, but I belonged here, on the bridge, with a crew that shares my values, in charge of a ship that stands for everything I believe humanity can be. A proximity alarm went off softly. Park looked at her station. Captain, we're getting a signal for help. The engine on the small research ship broke down, putting life support at risk.